We currently have a 4.6 month supply of unsold inventory. Now, technically, you're not in a buyer's market until 6 months, but I think that's antiquated. I think that is old. 4 months is definitely a buyer's market. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Darwin, and of course, this is GenPod, also known as Generation Pod, right? Bringing the common sense to kind of overly complicated scenarios. That's what I'm here for. Today, we've got a great kind of roundup of subjects relevant to today. We've got real estate numbers review. Some of my favorite content is analyzing data, okay? You can say what you say about whatever you say, but the numbers don't lie. With a little qualitative, right? But numbers don't lie ultimately. So we are going to dig into that thanks to the help of our friends of NAR and a few other credible sources. You know, we've heard it in the news for quite a few years. I know I've reported it on my socials, and you've just seen increases, and you'll understand why we're hitting this, okay? We are going to go through bankruptcy side that we're seeing with businesses and consumers. And you'll understand why soon. So yeah, that is something relevant to our dream, right? That's relevant to the dream. Lastly, we're going to just kind of touch back on the U.S. Treasury bond and mortgage rates, kind of coincidental type scenarios. Not really coincidental, but what the drivers are. All right, let's get into it. Let's start out with numbers review. Okay, like I said, I'm looking over some information from NAR, obviously. That's a benefit you get being a realtor. I am a realtor, soon to be broker with my brokerage. Anywho, we definitely start here. We've got some national figures to match our national show platform, okay? Obviously, I can get more granular with the, locality type scenarios, but this is a national show, and I want to keep it national and be sure we spotlight the successes and kind of issues with other areas as well. All right, so looking over, first thing I see month over month, we've got a 2.4 decrease in existing home sales. Now, honestly, this is month over month. That's not a surprise. That is not a surprise. So this is not alarming to me at all. What I'm looking at, which is a great indicator, and I'm super stoked about, right? Because I'm in real estate, of course. 2.8% year over year increase in existing home sales. Opening up these numbers, if you've been following me, I'm definitely in the real estate sector, but I do many things with, I list, property tax, expert advice, interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes it requires you to be pulled away from the market numbers for about a month or so, right? And sometimes you only hear what's coming at you. So I was pleasantly surprised. Real estate is not dead. It's not dead. Now, the way some things are handled still needs to be addressed, okay? Which sometimes, we could cause, people executing and things can cause issues, but it's not dead. We've got an increase in home sales, okay? Which means you've got consumer confidence coming back, kind of normalizing with the interest rates, many different factors, and we'll dig more into it. I don't want to just heavily put everything out there. Yearly, we got we do have an increase that not necessarily what I'm looking for. And again, this is national level, okay? We've got a 1.8% increase in median existing home sales price. So that's $440,600. That's at a national level. So that's what the median. All right, so let's get into this. Looking over the numbers, when we look at, Northeast had an increase with their sales month over month. All other sectors with the Midwest, South, and West declined. Year over year, the sales rose in Midwest, South, and West, and were flat in the Northeast. And I have an idea why it's flat. We'll get into that, though, as well, with housing demand. Now, let's look at inventory. So we've had an increase in inventory in June. This is June, okay? This is all kind of June numbers, so it's kind of back a month. Obviously, July has not finished. Looks like we have an increase in inventory in June, which means things are sitting a little bit longer. We currently have a 4.6 month supply of unsold inventory. Now, technically, you're not in a buyer's market until 6 months, but I think that's antiquated. I think that is old. Anyone will tell you. Now I'm kind of speaking kind of hypermarket-ish, okay? 4 months is definitely a buyer's market. Obviously, still just depends on the product and what's out there and what people are looking for, okay? But 4 months is a buyer's market. 4.6 month supply up from 4.5 months, matching last year's number. So technically, we're kind of following the trend still. All right. Now, when we look at affordability in June, and we'll touch more into this is just kind of general overview. We've got improvements across all regions. Okay. For those of you who may not know what affordability is, obviously we know what affordability means, but in housing terms, that pretty much says the housing cost versus what people are making. Can people afford the house technically? Okay. Obviously, if you can't afford a house, what happens? Foreclosures come up, which we'll say that for another episode. Okay. So affordability is extremely important. Year over year, improved across all regions. Northeast is up 4.5%. Midwest up 6.2%. South is up 8.3%. And West is up 8.9%. Obviously, you know which states, kind of match up to each region. Now, let's look at single-family homes. That's kind of what the gauge is, single-family existing. By the way, the trend, construction homes are outpacing existing homes by a bunch when it comes to cost. Just so you know, it used to be, kind of reverse-ish. Significant amounts, and this could be for, many reasons. Some coin inflation. Some others may say maybe unnecessary features that could be cut back. There's several different reasons depending on the developer. But we'd be blind not to equate price changes to materials to this, okay? That's just a no-brainer. So with that said, single-family homes in June had a decrease month over month. Again, this is national. Up year over year, though, okay? And this is why I'm liking these numbers. The median, of course, we know is up 446. We've got condominiums that kind of follow the same process. When we look at, I want to dig into existing home sales in region. Northeast, your median price is up 3.9%, $564,800. Midwest, you've got a decrease month over month in the annual rate of 980,000 sales. Up still 2.1% year over year with a median price point of $346,600, which is up 2.7% from June 2025. South, we got a decrease month over month. You're up overall, okay, 3.8%. Median price point looking around $377,700. Up. Still going up. Under 1%, however. West, let's check you out. You've got some heavy homes over there. We've got a decreased sales month over month. You're up year over year with a $633,600 median price, about 0.9% increase. So good. Up is good. Up is good in these numbers. Up is good. And again, the year over year is what kind of determines that. Now, it's going to be all we kind of touch on from this report. Again, these are from our friends from NAR, National Association of Realtors. There was a quote that I wanted to touch on. Okay, so we've got NAR's chief economist, Lawrence Yun, indicating the back and forth in monthly home sales activity is driven by mild fluctuation in mortgage rates. And it shows how sensitive home buyers are to affordability conditions. I, no surprise, agree with that. Yeah. It's many things just happening at once. You've got the income, right? Fluctuations there. You got the home prices going up, right? Incomes don't necessarily follow that, okay? But we'll analyze affordability in more detail in a moment. And then you've got the interest rate, which could definitely push you out of an affordability range. So there's so many different factors. I think it's super important that we definitely entrust trend decisions to skilled individuals. I think it's now important more than ever to ensure skills match what's necessary out in the market. Okay, so that's a snapshot with our numbers. Hopefully you found that more, educational, right? And I think it's important to kind of know what's going on. So hindsight 2020, real estate is not dead, of course. We're up. All right, so let's get into... I am going to touch on foreclosures. I did say that, right? I'm going to touch on it. Okay, so I've got the foreclosure rates from all 50 states. These are from our friends over at SoFi. Thank you. Shout out. Thanks for the credit card. Looking it over, there is no anomalies here, meaning there is nothing that is over the top concerning. We do have the rankings. Okay, we have the rankings for each state. Something to keep out. Okay, keep out and look for. I can tell you insight without causing any, and I don't want to. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to provide foresight and reliable data information. There have been some changes in foreclosure, not foreclosure, but some buyer leniency type law scenarios, particularly pushing off payments of homes. So I personally see, and I don't hope this to occur, but I do see us being in a little bit more trouble when it comes to foreclosure soon. I can tell you the buzz has been for years that there was going to be a foreclosure issue, and it could just be starting up now. So that's all I'm going to say on that because I don't want to steer any direction. But I think consumers are now getting to the point where that income's only providing for so much. And when you're stretched above, let's say, I think the typical is 30% comfort range for mortgage, and then you've got, don't even get me on car payments. That's my background too. I sell cars. Blows my mind. Car payments, average payment is $600 now. The Benz I had was $600, and that's like, that was 50 grand. Mind you, I had a great interest rate with Mercedes-Benz Financial, right? But that blows my mind. So I think consumers are now at the point where, look, I actually want to enjoy some of my money. I want to enjoy it. And when I say enjoy it, I don't need to travel and stay in rooms for $1,000 a night. I want to be able to at least travel once or twice a year. Okay? I think there's a shift in mentality, which brings me to, well, before I get there, because there's going to be a shift in what we're going to analyze here, which is a shift in mentality as well. But I want to go shout out real quick to a couple areas. By the way, no areas are like horrible. I see areas, your West shortage tracker for housing looks like you guys are kind of leveled out, so definitely see your opportunity going on there. Miami and Northeast, buddies, you guys need some homes. So shout out to you guys. I know you guys are excited over there. I see lots of quick sellouts. Miami, oh my God, like major developments. Love it over there, by the way. If you hadn't been, you need to go. Just came back from LA. It was Beverly Hills. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weather. Just great time. And of course, if you know me, Manhattan. That's been my go-to throughout life. Anywho, good to see that. Okay, now let's shift gears. Let me make sure I'm shifting gears the right time. Yeah, so... okay, bankruptcies, guys. Bankruptcies are up. Bankruptcies are up across the board, meaning we've heard some major players kind of go through that. First of all, let's break down what a bankruptcy is, okay? Let me take you back, okay? I come from car sales, right? And, young 20-something, I dealt with very affluent people, I'm convincing people to spend, 60, 70, 80 grand, and they're doing it with a smile and they love me and send people to me. Anyway, they're paying it forward, young kid, 6 figures. They know I was balling, making money. I got my Mont Blancs on, Mont Blanc pins. Y'all know what that is? That's about $300 pin. Yeah. I'm riding with Mont Blancs. I'm styled up nice. That's how we all were. So you could tell when people make money. That's just what it is. So, I'd run across, and of course, I'm looking at credit. So they felt the need to kind of elaborate to me what happened, which they kind of needed to get the vehicle, right? So they put me up on game about bankruptcy, right? Meaning, when I say game, meaning what happens, And it happens to many types of people, many different backgrounds, many different income levels. So let's start there. They let me know that you are able to, keep items when it happens. So it's a kind of a reset for life. Okay, so let's first start there. Let's understand what it really is. It's a reset for life. We have major players that have experiences. I'm going to leave their name out of it because it's in the news. You could check my social or whatnot. This is not that type of show, but it is to kind of provide context to what goes on and to provide a little common sense. Overall, businesses take advantage of bankruptcies as well, restructuring, right? Sometimes you just get too big. Sometimes you're just like, look, this location's not paying for itself. This one's not. This one's not. This one's not. How else do I get out of it besides restructuring? That's how it is. That's reality. That's business, right? So bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean you're going broke, okay? You've made a call. You want to prevent that from occurring. You've got all these lives to take care of. So you're taking measures to ensure you get another 100 years. Okay? So that's that. So we've had some major players, big players, retail boxes, and a couple small ones. I want to get some data, some figures for you. Bankruptcies are up across the board, business and personal. You'd be shocked at the personal figures. 27% increase year over year were filed in the U.S. Last year. That's personal. There's a lot of bankruptcies going on. So consumers are just like, you know what? I'm going to kill myself stressing out. I'm going to kill myself early, stressing out on keeping up with the Joneses, or not even the Joneses, but just trying to keep my American dream going. And that's why it's so important that we really take this subject serious and understand those who share responsibility for some of the decisions that affect people need to really own up to that. Now more than ever, your duty calls for you to execute and execute on the role. Execute on the role. I'm just going to put it that way without pinpointing, but you're not here to stop scenarios. You're here to help someone get what they need the right way. Bankruptcies are up. Bankruptcies are up. And I'm actually looking at year over year right now. I could put this up on the screen, but I'm going to just call it out for you. We had the most businesses and non-businesses back in 2005. We had that. 2008, we had that. Oh, don't even get me on it. I lost a lot of money in the stock markets in 2008. Like a lot of money. But yeah, these figures are not near 2005, but it's a... So, and that for kind of bell curve is what we call it in statistics. Shout out to my professor. Yeah, she'd be proud. Actually, she was proud already. That was a difficult course. But yeah, bell curve. Bell curve. That's what it is. That's reality. Okay, so understand what's going on here and think about it. Think about it more, right? Go below the surface. Go below the surface. Let's figure it out. Okay? Now, that's all I'm going to touch on that, okay? There's different types of bankruptcies, things along those lines, but they're up. What matters is it's up. It's up across the board with some very affluent and so not affluent people that take advantage of it in businesses. Okay? I'm hoping the credit requirements match that, right? Because these people are going to need to rebound. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone, right? Restructuring, it happens. Resets, it happens, right? Do you reset your kids? You put them in the corner? Common sense corner maybe? Okay, I want to talk about affordability because these numbers popped up on it, okay? And actually just kind of circle back again, okay? Affordability is, can I afford the home? That's just what it comes down to. If you want me to get very collegiate with it, I could do that. But bottom line, I want the home. I make money. I have the credit. Can I qualify for it? If you can't qualify for it, right, what does that mean? You're not going to get a loan for it. And mind you, I'm talking about people with loans, right? But keep in mind, majority of people are purchasing homes with loans, right? Even investors use hard money loans and stuff along those lines. Anyway, reality is this, uh, you know, just like the upper, 1% pays a significant portion of taxes, right? Uh, there's no consumers without consumerability. Okay, so let's look at affordability. And I'm looking at a couple years here, okay? I'm looking at first-time home buyers, right? Because the first-time home buyer age has already increased, right? Isn't that in your 40s now? Something along those lines, right? 23. I'm looking at the median income versus qualifying income for homes. This is overall at a national level, okay? Rough approximation, right? It's getting better. You know, I like to find the what's called silver lining. It's getting better, right, for first-time home buyers. But I'm just going to call it 2026. Median income $71,651. Median qualifying income for a home, for median home, $93,264. That's 2026. That's first-time home buyer. It's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. What equates to affordability? Job, career, right? Monthly payment, which equates with interest rates. So that was going to be my third one. And if you know me, I've talked about a median income for years. Median income versus what it costs for years. First time home buyer. Let me see what we got with regular home buyers. I'll say regular, but you know what I mean. So I'm sure there's going to be some down payment assistance options potentially. I don't know, right? I think we should be throwing money at people that want to buy homes. Shout out, by the way, you know, I was talking to an art magazine like 7-8 months back or whatever, and talking about we're going to need creative financing, right? Why are these people that are paying rent $2,000 a month, something along those lines or something, why does that not qualify for being able to afford a home if you're paying it? Shout out to the government though; they're coming up with some creative financing. We're looking into different ways of qualifying for home loans. Shout out. Shout out, shout out. Okay, so quarterly housing affordability index. Overall, on a quarter, when I'm looking at the quarter, at a family level income, we're there. We're there. But, I mean, I hadn't checked divorce rates. I mean, last time I checked that, it was 50%, right? So that would be a single family. Okay, yeah, so that's what I have. You know, that's my overview. So to recap, well, before I recap, keep in mind interest rates. Subscribe, look at, pull up, evaluate the U.S. Treasury 10-year. Okay? People have to get paid back before things get better for, I'll say, the standard consumer. All right, let's recap. Okay, so we went through the real estate numbers review. Okay, that's raw numbers. That's coming straight from sources. No fluff. No middle interpretation, except for mine. But I analyze very well, so you're getting the facts. We went through business bankruptcies and personal bankruptcies. I can tell you 2024 was on the rise for young kids. We were seeing it for younger. Those are indicators of things. Not everything is the person, okay? There's some indications of some processes out here, okay? You got to accept responsibility. And lastly, we touched on what? The U.S. Treasury, 10-year. Can't do anything without it. With that said, I am signing off. This is Darwin, GenPod, Generation Pod, bringing common sense. It's not so common. Talk soon. Thank you.